All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go digging through history's attic to uncover some of the most brilliant, sometimes strange, and potentially world-changing ideas that, for whatever reason, just got left behind.
I mean, think about that for a second. It's a wild question, right? We all celebrate the light bulb, the airplane, but what about the countless other sparks of genius that just fizzled out before they could change our world? What kind of amazing things are we missing out on simply because they were lost to time?
You know, for every big success story we learn about in the history of innovation, there are dozens, maybe hundreds of these fascinating failures. And these stories of forgotten genius, well, they tell us just as much about human creativity and the world we live in.
So on one hand, you've got the rock stars, the light bulb, the airplane, inventions that totally define modern life. But then on the other hand, you have these wonderfully weird but totally brilliant ideas, like a refrigerator that ran on ice or a washing machine powered by a bicycle. They were real, they existed, but most of us have never even heard of them.
So what exactly are we talking about here? A forgotten invention isn't just a bad idea. Not at all. It's a remarkable concept that, for a whole bunch of reasons, just couldn't get off the ground. Maybe it was way too far ahead of its time, a little too strange for people to accept, or maybe it was even actively pushed aside.
To really get a feel for this, let's dive into a story. Let's talk about a guy named John Gorey, a true visionary whose incredible idea was born from a simple desire to help people. Okay, so picture this. It's the 1840s. You're in Florida, and it is sweltering. Gorey was a doctor, and he was watching his patients suffer from fevers in the oppressive heat. His solution was, for the time, completely radical. He wanted to build a machine that could literally create ice and cool the air, all without an electrical grid.
I mean, this guy was so ridiculously far ahead of the curve, it's not even funny. He invented his ice machine in the 1840s. It took another 50 years before the first commercial electric refrigerators even started popping up in breweries, and it was almost a century before they were common in homes. He was literally generations ahead of his time.
But here's the kicker. Even though he built a working machine, the world just wasn't ready. His idea was met with total disbelief, even mockery. And of course, the powerful ice shipping industry at the time didn't exactly love the idea. So Gorey's revolutionary concept was basically buried, and his name was forgotten for decades.
Just stop and think about that for a second. What if we'd had climate-controlled cities and homes in the 19th century instead of the 20th? How would that have changed medicine, architecture, or even just where people decided to live? The ripple effects are just staggering to think about. And here's the thing. John Gorey's story, it's not some isolated incident, not by a long shot. Once you start looking, you realize that history is just littered with these lost marvels. It's this recurring pattern of incredible ideas that, for whatever reason, just couldn't break through. For instance, other sources talk about a bicycle-powered washing machine. I mean, how cool is that? A clever solution for homes with no electricity that turns a chore into a workout. Or how about a typewriter that you could operate with your voice? A distant ancestor to the voice-to-text we all use today. And maybe the most mind-blowing one, concepts that look shockingly like a modern smartphone. Touchscreens, data, the whole deal, were being sketched out 70 years before the iPhone even existed. And what's wild is that so many of these stories follow the exact same path. It all starts with that spark of genius. Then comes the resistance, with society calling it impractical or impossible. Then, the invention slowly fades into the background. It gets forgotten, only for the core idea to pop back up again, like an echo, decades or even centuries later when the world is finally ready to listen.
And this is so important to get. These weren't bad ideas. Far from it. The technology was clever, the vision was there, but the timing was just completely off. They were the right answers to questions that nobody was even asking yet.
So you might be thinking, okay, why are we talking about all these old failures? Well, because these whispers from the past, they have a really profound legacy. They teach us some crucial lessons about how innovation actually works today.
Think of these stories as a masterclass in what it really takes to be an innovator. They teach us about vision, that ability to see a future that other people just can't. They show us the need for absolute persistence in the face of doubt, the resilience to get back up after you fail, and that burning curiosity that fuels every single great leap forward.
And maybe the biggest takeaway from all of this is that no creative effort is ever really wasted. Even when an invention gets buried and forgotten, it becomes part of the soil that future innovations grow from. Every single failure is a quiet little stepping stone, paving the way for the successes that come later.
So that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. Just look around you. That quirky gadget you bought? That weird little app on your phone? That strange idea you sketched out on a napkin? Could one of them be the forgotten invention of our time? Just an amazing idea, waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. Something to think about, for sure.